Post-Apocalyptic Shrek. One of the most elaborate DreamWorks theories suggests that the entire Shrek universe isn't medieval fantasy at all. It's actually set in a post-apocalyptic future Earth where magic has replaced technology. Modern elements throughout the film suggest technology disguised as medieval fantasy. Farquaad's emblem bears striking resemblance to what would later become a design similar to the Facebook logo, sparking internet debate about the visual connection. Magic mirrors function like computers with artificial intelligence sentience, displaying images like screens and responding to commands. Characters use modern phrases despite the medieval setting, including "hold the phone," police brutality, and contemporary music with microphones. Duloc features modern turnstiles and other contemporary technology integrated into the fantasy world. Far, Far Away is modeled directly after Hollywood, complete with red carpet entrances, the Burger King logo, and billboards. Singing dolls are shown printing photographs like Polaroid cameras, which would be impossible in an actual medieval context. Background characters wear modern hard hats and construction equipment rather than period-appropriate headwear. This theory transforms Shrek from a simple fairy tale parody into a dystopian science fiction narrative. It reframes the absurdist humor as eerie commentary on how an advanced technological civilization might collapse and rebuild using magic. Every anachronism becomes intentional world-building rather than comedic oversights, suggesting DreamWorks embedded profound themes about technological dependence and societal collapse into a children's movie. Timeline manipulation. A darker theory about Shrek 4 proposes that the fairy godmother didn't just manipulate individual events, she was orchestrating parallel timelines and potentially possessing supernatural knowledge of the future through ancient magic. The fairy godmother appears across multiple Shrek films in ways that suggest knowledge beyond normal understanding. She only materializes if someone cries into her business cards, indicating she actively monitors emotional disturbances and situations across her domain. The theory suggests she deliberately orchestrated Shrek's rescue of Fiona from the film's beginning to gain political influence in Far, Far Away. Her manipulation extends across multiple characters. She targeted Lord Farquaad, influenced Rumpelstiltskin's decisions, and shaped royal family connections. In Shrek 4, she demonstrates knowledge of prophecies and employs alchemy and ancient magic to predict and reshape futures. The film's time paradox creates multiple parallel universes where different outcomes exist simultaneously. Timeline 1, the original reality, shows Shrek existing and successfully saving Fiona. Timeline 2, the alternate reality, shows Shrek never existing because Rumpelstiltskin's contract prevents his birth. Timeline 3, the restructured reality, occurs when the fairy godmother notices the timeline fracture and actively reorders events after discovering the paradox. Harold and Lillian's timeline is altered based on who signs a particular contract, directly changing whether Fiona ever existed. Evidence suggests Rumpelstiltskin made deals with the fairy godmother, implying she controls destiny itself across all potential timelines. This theory elevates the fairy godmother from a cartoon villain to a cosmic entity capable of manipulating reality itself across multiple dimensional branches. It suggests the entire Shrek narrative arc across 4 films might be orchestrated on a scale the characters don't comprehend, raising uncomfortable questions about free will, destiny, and whether any character truly makes autonomous decisions. Deliberate betrayal. In How to Train Your Dragon, fans theorize that Toothless didn't accidentally bite off Hiccup's foot. He deliberately amputated it to forge a permanent, unbreakable bond. The films never explicitly explain the mechanism of how Hiccup lost his leg. Toothless's jaws closed directly at Hiccup's leg during their climactic first battle with the Red Death. The theory suggests Toothless acted on animal instinct combined with possessive protectiveness. By permanently removing Hiccup's leg, the two become physically and functionally dependent on one another. Hiccup cannot leave Toothless or survive independently after losing his lower limb. Toothless simultaneously requires Hiccup to control his tail membrane for full flight capability. This creates a mutually dependent, symbiotic relationship stronger than typical dragon-rider bonds. Wild animals in nature often form bonds through physical markers and reciprocal interdependence. This theory reframes a tragic moment as potentially strategic animal behavior, motivated by loyalty and the desire for permanent companionship. It suggests Toothless isn't merely a loyal pet, but a calculating creature with agency who ensures permanent bonding through physical necessity. Alpha Dragon. Another How to Train Your Dragon theory explains an important plot gap. Why all wild dragons instantly accepted Toothless as their leader must be because he became the new alpha after defeating the Red Death. Wild dragons had been enslaved and controlled by the Red Death's dominance. When Toothless kills the Red Death in combat, he defeats the dominant alpha of their species. Dragon Pack hierarchy dictates that the strongest dragon assumes leadership of all others. This explains why dragons immediately follow Toothless's commands and accept living alongside humans. Without an alpha successor established, the dragons would remain leaderless and dangerous. This theory fills a significant plot gap that genuinely bothered many viewers. Why would dragons who had been enslaved and hunted by humans suddenly trust their former enemies and submit to their commands? By establishing Toothless as the new alpha through combat victory, the theory makes their submission to Hiccup's indirect command logical and inevitable based on dragon biology. Secret mentorship. Fans believe Hiccup's father, Stoic, didn't reject his son's inadequacy. Instead, he secretly orchestrated every obstacle Hiccup faced to deliberately forge him into a capable leader through carefully calibrated challenges. Stoic gives Hiccup control of the dragon training school, knowing it will force him to confront his deepest fears and develop confidence. The outcasts attack the village at perfectly timed intervals when Hiccup develops new skills. Their leader, Alvin, is Stoic's longtime friend. Dragon trappers appear exactly when Hiccup masters dragon communication skills, offering manageable opposition. Each successive enemy escalates precisely in difficulty, matching Hiccup's growing abilities. The timing pattern suggests political coordination and careful orchestration, rather than random Viking attacks. Stoic originally wanted to be the dragon warrior himself, but failed to achieve that status. By training Hiccup through controlled opposition, Stoic ensures his son becomes the formidable leader and dragon warrior he himself couldn't be. This explains how Hiccup develops from incompetent outcast to formidable warrior so rapidly. This theory transforms Stoic from a dismissive, rejecting father into a strategic mentor, operating in shadows, using apparent distance as a tool for psychological development. It reframes Hiccup's entire journey from accidental growth through circumstances to carefully managed development under paternal guidance. Alex's fever dream. The entire adventure in Madagascar might not be real. It could all be a hallucination, specifically a dying lion's desperate fantasy during his final moments of consciousness, alone on an unfamiliar island. The opening shows Alex locked in a separate cargo crate, distinctly separated from his companions. When Alex crashes on the island alone, the film explicitly shows him beginning to experience heat-induced hallucinations from starvation and sun exposure. He miraculously encounters Melman immediately after hallucinations begin, despite the earlier scene showing them washed away into completely different ocean currents. The island's central oasis location appears identical to a mural painting from their New York Central Park Zoo. All four animals express amazement that this location exists exactly as they had imagined it before the voyage. Their confused reaction to finding it makes logical sense only if the location exists in Alex's mind. It's his mental construction manifesting. The penguin's takeover of the ship marks the narrative point where the theory proposes reality ends and fantasy begins. Every event after the penguin ship sequence is presented without establishing shots or external verification. The theory proposes Alex is actually dying alone on a random, unspecific island from starvation and heat exhaustion. As he dies, he fantasizes about reconnecting with his friends and regrets not being more open to new experiences before his final moments. This theory transforms Madagascar from a lighthearted buddy adventure comedy into a tragic meditation on mortality, isolation, regret, and the need for connection. If true, the entire narrative becomes darker and profoundly poignant, depicting a dying animal's fantasy of friendship and belonging as he faces his final moments. By the way, if you're enjoying this so far, I post videos like this all the time. Subscribing would really help out. Pure belief. In Kung Fu Panda, the legendary and supposedly unstoppable Wu-Chi fingerhold isn't actually a martial arts technique at all. It only works because people believe it works, making it a psychological phenomenon rather than a physical move. Po has never been formally taught the proper mechanics of the Wu-Chi fingerhold. He never observes the move performed correctly by a master. The move appears to be a chi explosion of mystical energy rather than a physical martial arts technique. Po's entire training focuses on physical martial arts, not mystical chi manipulation. Every time the move is used successfully, enemies display visible fear and psychological breakdown before execution. The move works perfectly whenever enemies believe in its power and dread its effects. Master Oogway explicitly states the move requires belief to function properly. This connects directly to the film's themes about inner strength, confidence, and self-fulfilling prophecies. This theory reframes the wuxi fingerhold as a psychological rather than mystical phenomenon, suggesting the entire Kung Fu Panda universe operates on placebo-like principles where belief shapes reality. It adds philosophical depth and self-aware commentary to the martial arts narrative, explaining why the film's secret ingredient is literally nothing, because the power was always internal. Tai Lung Won. A disturbing theory suggests that Tai Lung actually succeeded in his ultimate mission. He defeated the system and proved his points were valid, even though the films frame it as his loss. Tai Lung's entire existence revolves around proving that the Dragon Scroll contains real, tangible power. He finally obtains the scroll he spent years pursuing and discovers it is completely blank. Po reveals the truth that there is no secret ingredient. The scroll contains no magical power whatsoever. Tai Lung's life's goal and motivation shatters in that moment of revelation. But this moment actually proves Tai Lung's fundamental point. Shifu's entire system of dragon warrior selection is meaningless. Tai Lung has defeated the physical warriors through superior combat skill. He has also defeated the prophecy itself by proving the scroll is empty. His defeat by Po actually represents Po accepting the same existential truth Tai Lung discovered. This theory reframes the ending as morally and philosophically ambiguous. Tai Lung's traditional defeat isn't his failure, it's actually his success in proving the system hollow and empty. The theory adds nihilistic depth and philosophical complexity to the Kung Fu Panda franchise, challenging conventional hero narrative conventions and suggesting that the villain was correct about systemic emptiness. Tim's dream. Tim's entire adventure with the boss baby might never have happened. It could be an elaborate dream or imagination produced while his parents were actually in the process of giving birth to his real brother. The film opens with Tim's parents explicitly asking if he'd like to have a baby brother. Tim falls asleep while wondering where babies come from, setting up a dream context. A marble machine visible in Tim's room transitions to a giant baby-making machine in the sky, displaying classic dream logic. Tim has explicitly stated he doesn't want a baby brother, which motivates wish fulfillment fantasy. After the adventure, his parents tell Tim he has a huge imagination regarding the events he describes. Tim is grounded and ordered to stay with the baby, but this punishment only exists within his dream. When Tim wakes up, his mother has given birth to a real baby present in his home. This real baby is a separate character from the boss baby who returns to Baby Corp. The ending shows Tim waking to embrace a genuine brother, suggesting the fantasy was his coping mechanism for accepting life change. Parents would never accept the memory wipe explanation the film provides. They would inherently remember their own biological son. This theory reframes the film as a psychological fantasy about sibling rivalry acceptance and emotional maturation. Tim's imagination transforms his anxiety about a new sibling into an adventure narrative, allowing him to process and ultimately accept the major life change. Jamie's ancestry. In Rise of the Guardians, fans believe Jamie Bennett might actually be a genetic descendant of Jack Frost's sister, which explains their seemingly predetermined connection and spiritual bond. Jack had a sister in his human life before becoming a spirit immortal. Jack told his sister things about wonder and fun before dying, establishing a foundational relationship. Jamie plays an identical narrative role in Jack's spirit life, as his sister did in his human life. Jamie's physical features, including light hair color and facial structure, resemble Jack's human appearance. Both characters have similar coloring, hairstyles, and expressive facial features. The film's directors acknowledged it as certainly a possibility, but intentionally didn't fully explore it. The narrative pattern repeats identically across centuries, showing Jack saving a child through wonder and belief. This theory adds a poetic, cyclical structure to Jack's story. He spiritually reconnects with his sister's bloodline legacy through her descendant centuries later. It suggests themes of eternal recurrence, spiritual inheritance across generations, and the persistence of love beyond death. Reincarnated Soldiers. The 4 penguin characters from Madagascar might be reincarnated World War II soldiers, as evidenced by their military rank names, combat expertise, and strategic organization far exceeding typical animal capability. Each penguin has a military rank name. Skipper serves as commanding officer, alongside Private Kowalski, the engineer, and Rico, the weapons specialist. Kowalski builds complex weapons and employs military tactics like a professional military engineer. Rico functions as an explosives and weapons expert with precision and expertise. Their organization precisely mimics military hierarchy, command structure, and strategic planning. The films contain numerous military references, formations, and protocol. They possess advanced survival and combat skills far beyond typical animal ability. This theory transforms cartoon penguins into metaphorical soldiers, carrying forward warrior spirits across lifetimes. It's whimsical, but explains their unusual competence, military discipline, and organizational sophistication that exceeds normal animal behavior. Barry's son. An unusual cross-universe theory suggests that Freddie Benson from Nickelodeon's iCarly is actually the biological son of Barry B. Benson from B Movie and the human Vanessa, making him part B. Barry B. Benson explicitly courts and pursues Vanessa throughout B Movie. Freddie Benson shares the identical last name Benson as Vanessa Benson. Freddie's mother on iCarly is portrayed as extremely protective and secretive about his background. The theory implies something tragic happened to Barry, the B father. Nathan Kress, the voice actor for Freddie, humorously endorsed this theory on Twitter, giving it fun fan acknowledgement. Freddie would be genetically part B, which could explain certain unusual characteristics. This theory represents fan creativity connecting different animated universes through character name analysis and remarkable actor acknowledgement. It's notable because it received validation from the show's star, making it unique among these theories and demonstrating how fan theories can influence creator engagement. If you found this interesting, consider subscribing so you never miss new content. Thanks for watching.